member of the anti-poverty platform says the food program was launched specifically for health affordability. Vice President of the collectivité says the reopening of businesses on French St. Martin will be with strict compliance. But first up, Prime Minister of St. Martin gives an update and the latest data and developments of COVID-19. Those are the headlines for Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. We have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. Prime Minister of St. Martin and Chairlady of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, Ms. Sylvia Jacobs, in her national address of Monday, May the 4th, 2020, gave the latest data and developments of COVID-19 on the island.
As part of the process to keep the community of St. Martin properly informed about the latest developments related to COVID-19. Today, May 4th, I'm very happy to say that we have had no new positive cases of COVID-19 over the past 5 days. I would still like to update you, however, as we did get quite some negative cases. Based on the latest available data, as of today, 4 p.m., May 4th, the numbers in self-quarantine are now at 76. The numbers in self-isolation are down to 46. The number of persons hospitalized are 5. The numbers tested totally, local residents, 359. The number positive of that amount is 76, 54 males and 22 females. 277 persons have tested negative, and 5 remain pending as of today, with 1 also inconclusive. Now, it has been noted by CPS that while doing a cleanup of their data and cross-checking with the medical center, that they did miss the notification of 1 death that occurred around April 24th. As such, the death rate as of that date, so as of April 24th, is actually at 14. So there have been no new deaths as of today. However, in the cleanup of data, it was noted that 1 person who had passed away had not been counted since April 24th. I do apologize to the general public for not giving that information, but that cleanup only happened over the past weekend and therefore could only be divulged today. So that person passed around the 24th of April, and therefore our actual deceased numbers, as can be related as COVID patients, are at the number 14. We do have 44 patients that have recovered, and our active cases are down now to 19. As many can tell based on the data that is now on the screen as well, you will be able to see that there is quite a downward trend in the active cases. That is the blue line that you would see on the screen. I would like to also explain that isolation cases are persons who have symptoms. And CPS has noted that many persons have come out of quarantine and isolation as a result of passing their terms or not having symptoms any longer. Persons with suspected COVID-19 that have been tested or will be tested by CPS also fall within this isolation group, and persons with laboratory confirmed COVID-19 that are still being actively monitored. So these persons who are in isolation count also the positive cases that are actively being monitored. 5 of the confirmed COVID-19 patients in the medical center, 1 is in the ICU tent, and 4 are in the medical pavilion, of which 2 are expected to be discharged soon. So that would have only 3 persons in hospital, though none of them are actually in the medical center building.
And in news out of French St. Martin, in her national address, which was held on Monday, May 4th, 2020 as well, First Vice President of the collectivité, Valérie Damaso, updated the community on the reopening of schools on that side of the island. The first Vice President said that government clearly wants the schools to resume gradually as scheduled under more favorable conditions on French St. Martin. This decision was taken after a video conference with the President of the Republic alongside the President of the region.
Last week, Thursday, the video conference organized by the President of the Republic alongside the Presidents of the regions was an opportunity for us to express our grievances and concerns. This exchange was also allowed us, to understand a little better how the President and his government envision the deconfinement as of May 11th. In regard to the reopening of schools, the government clearly wants the school to resume gradually as scheduled to allow students to finish the school year under more favorable learning conditions. This is a commendable argument because indeed, it is true that numerous students are faced with the difficulties of the homeschooling system and also the fact that parents will return to work. But our executive position has not changed, which is continue exchanging with our educational stakeholders and remember the safety of our students above all. It was actually shared by the President of Martinique, Guadeloupe, and French Guiana. Protecting our students is essential, and we are asking that the necessary resources be deployed in schools, such as masks, distancing measures, to prevent the virus from returning. The National Board of Education is taking care of the protection of the teachers, teaching staff, and will keep us informed of the measures implemented locally. As far as our employees are concerned, the collectivity will be responsible for equipping them with our available stockpiles. Clarification from the government on this subject is necessary. It will be difficult to reopen all the schools in St. Martin in May if those needs are not met. We discussed this point with the unions. The position must also be taken into consideration. We therefore are pursuing our consultation meeting with the state, the rectorate, and the education stakeholders until we reach a joint decision. At this stage, after assessing our means in terms of school buildings and collectivity staff, we will be able to reopen 1st and 5th grade classes in elementary school. This point remains to be discussed in the next few days with our partners.
And the first Vice President also gave an update of the opening of the businesses on French St. Martin. However, according to the first Vice President, it will be with strict compliance and under certain conditions. It is scheduled to take place on May 11th, 2020.
Our first topic this afternoon is based on the socio-economic support. The exchange with the President of the Republic was also an opportunity to raise the concerns of businesses in the tourism and restaurant sector, which represent most of the economic fabric of St. Martin. It is an executive priority that businesses be able to reopen as of May 11th in strict compliance with the security measures. It will be a great risk to wait until the end of May, just like in France, for us to announce a deconfinement measure for our economy, in particular for the sector of activity. We reminded the President of the Republic that St. Martin has suffered a double penalty: Hurricane Irma, COVID-19, and even a triple punishment if we took into account the fact that the tourist season will not start here until December 2020. The reopening of the economy as of May 11th is therefore vital for us. President Macron responded favorably to this request that was made by both Saint Martin and Saint Barthélemy government. Having said that, businesses in the tourism sector, bars and restaurants, could be able to reopen their doors as of May 11th under certain conditions. To apply this action, we requested that Madame la Préfète move forward with gathering all the necessary recommendations done by the state to guarantee an economic recovery for our territories. The Préfète said a plan of deconfinement will have to be put in place for St. Martin and St. Barth as soon as possible. Of course, there are conditions for this recovery. These will be specified by the government. Strict health and safety measures will have to be respected from now on by all businesses. In this regard, the government has announced the soon-to-be release of a good practice guide to safety measures to help businesses, to which the various administrative divisions can contribute to. This is also our wish. We talked about it last week to release a guide in line with the Guide of Good Building Practices that we had published in partnership with the state right after Irma. The state must therefore quickly clarify the method of making this guide so that we can pass on the proper instructions to the business community as soon as possible. Of course, we rely on the businessmen and women to do everything possible to ensure they protect their customers when they reopen. On this particular point, we will meet our stakeholders this week to discuss the deconfinement process. In view of the difficulties of the territory linked to the seasonality of the tourist economy, we have called for an extension of the partial unemployment scheme until the end of 2020. Our companies must be able to last until the next high season, save jobs, and be able to look to the future.
And it should be noted that the president of the collectivité, Mr. Daniel Gibbs, was also in attendance. However, his address was given in French. And still to come, Fire Chief on St. Martin talks about the upcoming hurricane season. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And as we continue with more news at this time, Fire Chief on St. Martin, Mr. Clive Richardson, updated the community about the upcoming hurricane season. The Fire Chief was at the time fielding a question from one of our colleagues about how prepared we are for the upcoming hurricane season 2020.
The COVID-19 pandemic, that the information as it pertains to the hurricane season does not clash with that of the COVID-19. Do we foresee a separate committee being put in place to ensure that the St. Martin is at least informed differently to the information that is coming from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you, Stephen. Fire Chief Clive Richardson, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cerillion. At the moment, we have sent information to all of the different ESF coordinators requesting an update on their operational plans for the hurricane season. So if any adjustments have been made for the 2020 season, we will try to keep separate meetings so that it does not interact with the COVID meetings, but at a certain point, we still have to have joint meetings to see how we will, if such a situation happen, how the different ministries will assist each other to be able to handle the situation if we should get a hurricane coming our direction. And it was already started, a discussion already started in the EOC since yesterday pertaining to that. And there will be a follow-up next week on how to move forward with the information that we gather and how we can put it in place to secure that both incidents or both, if the pending disaster, if a hurricane should come, and the COVID situation, how best we can work towards that. So it's in discussion. I hope that answered your question.
And in other news at this time, member of the Anti-Poverty Platform and member of the St. Martin Consumers Coalition, Alberto Butte, speaking to our newsroom about the high cost of living on the island. Mr. Butte says that the food program that they implemented was launched back in September 2019, specifically for health affordability and to help alleviate the rising cost of living on St. Martin.
Often we miss the part of our program which was the health aspect of our program because of the immune system of the people on St. Martin, because due to the fact that the cost of living on St. Martin is so high that many had to compromise filling their stomach at the expense of looking at quality last. So cost of living is known to be very expensive on St. Martin, and whereby we launched the program in September of 2019, specifically on the health, affordability, and quality of services. What we see taking place in this economy right now, many are taking advantage of the pandemic and raising the prices, We are happy to see that somehow government is still, has some kind of intervention mechanism in the market, but the moment you finish with one supermarket, you will see you turn your back dedicated to another, and it goes back on another item, for example, until it's reported. It is ridiculous when you look at the prices, and it's not all related to imports issues, because many of the stuff sat on the island already, and what you see that goes through the supermarkets. I took note of a specific supermarket, a very large supermarket here on ATLH Road. You have two supermarkets on ATLH Road, because ATLH Road started around about in Dutch Quarter, right to the Napa, close to Napa. So the closest one to the light, to the traffic light. There was one that came in with pork chop at 6 gilder 30, and the other one was selling her pork chop for $9.95, just about 2-3 months ago, 2-3 months back. And I used to monitor the situation because we do document things between different supermarkets. And because of the competition that Party B brought to St. Martin, this other supermarket here dropped her prices to $5.95, just below the $6.30 that this other supermarket brought to the consumers. That it shows you that they were making 4 guilders profit, or they hiked their price at the time and fleecing this community of amount of 4 guilder per kilo all over those years, until this other supermarket came in and started to sell for 6 guilder and 30 cents. Then they dropped their price to $5.95. I went back a few days ago to monitor on prices, and I saw they have their prices back to 8 guilders 95. You understand? And why? Because the other supermarket is out of pork chops. For example, I'm just using one item. You understand? And for such, it is very important we make an appeal upon government that as the Anti-Poverty Platform and Consumers Coalition, we stand ready, you understand me, to assist. But due to the conditions and, and the fragile situation, conditions we work under, which is with fruit and vegetable, we stand ready to assist government in any which way. And we look forward, since this was debated in Parliament, and examples were made of our impact in this market, so we look forward now for government to take it further. We stand ready ever since, that we can present packages to government to alleviate the situation, because it goes back, what you're referring here is prices that many can purchase, but yet we find those that fall off the ladder because they're not working and also they're not being picked up by the radar, the social assistance radar.
Now turning to our weather forecast for May the 5th, 2020. A loose pressure gradient will cause mostly light to gentle winds across the region, while a slight surge low-level moisture in the atmosphere caused some brief showers this morning. Slight to moderate seas will continue throughout the next several days. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, President of the St. Martin Carnival and Development Foundation says preparations for the 2021 Carnival has already started. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Monday, May 4th, would have been the end of the 2020 Carnival activities with the last lap jump up and the burning of King Mumu. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this year's festivities had to be postponed. It now means that preparations for next year have already started, and as a result, the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation has tentatively set aside April 14th as the date for the start of the 2021 Carnival Festival. Alston Lawrence is the president of the St. Martin Carnival and Development Foundation.
It was the end of Carnival, but they would have been, Monday or Tuesday would have been the end of Carnival, the last day, which would have been yesterday. So we decided on the weekend to really put out our save the date for next year, which is April 14th until May 3rd. So that's next year's schedule already.
Now, based on the schedule for next year and looking back at the activities that were planned for this year, in fact, both holders had already been making the necessary preparations for this year's carnival activities. COVID-19 had other plans nonetheless. What happens to those booth holders, Mr. Lawrence?
Oh, well, it's quite simple. That's why the words we use are quite important. We never told anyone that it was canceled. It's just postponed.
Yeah.
So all of the activities, everything that everyone has registered for, all the registrations, they go over to 2021. So we will have our 51st Carnival in 2021. Everybody has already registered for the 51st Carnival. They just move right over. All the money's paid. Everything moves right over. All the season passes, the troops, the band, everything that has registered already, it moves right over into the next year. So we are continuing. You have a whole other year to prepare, basically. And that's the why we never said the word cancel, but we said postpone. So we postponed the 51st Carnival and all its activities.
Indications are that the 2021 Carnival festivities will be even bigger than what was anticipated for 2020.
I don't know, but I do know that people will be way more excited because, Carnival is something that we really need in St. Martin. It doesn't feed us, but, when it comes to our social and mental health, it is a way to release some of that tension that we take over. And so I'm sure we're going to miss that. At least we got to be calm this April and there was nothing else, but I'm sure next year everybody's going to be ready to go. It's going to be quite a lot of fun.
I'm sure, taking into consideration as well the postponement of this year's carnival activities, one would want to believe that you are now, as SCDF, in a better position to prepare for 2021.
Definitely. We're definitely in a better position to prepare, to also look at the economy and see what we can do and what we can't do. All the promoters say we have a new opportunity. We have quite a bit of time to get things ready. On top of that, there are a lot of things that we just never had the time to really deal with that we could take our time and put together properly.
And still to come, Interim president of the CBCS says despite redistribution, a solidarity levy will have a negative effect on the economy. We'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns.
Hello, St. Martin. My name is Jose Helaga and I play basketball. I have organized basketball events in St. Martin. Sport matters to me because it makes everybody come together in unity. So I challenge the businesses community to step up for sports and help us rebuild and repair our facility. I'm also asking the community to nominate local businesses in your area to take on the challenge and step up for sport because sports matter. Check out the Department of Sports SSN Facebook page for more information. Hashtag Sport Matter, hashtag Are You In?
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, this item out of Curaçao. The Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin, CBCS, has calculated the macroeconomic effects of a solidarity levy on the request of the Minister of Finance of Curaçao. The analysis reveals that the solidarity levy will result in an even deeper economic contraction in 2020 than was initially projected, even though part of the revenues from the levy will be allocated for income support for some of the vulnerable and most affected groups in society, according to Dr. Jose Jardim, interim president of the CBCS. The economy of Curaçao has been hit hard by the global outbreak of the COVID-19 coronavirus and the measures that the government has taken to contain a local spread of the virus, assuming a closure of the borders for a period of 3 months and a lockdown of 1 month, followed by a gradual recovery after reopening. The CBCS projected an economic contraction of 17.7%. It should be noted, however, that the longer the duration of the lockdown and border closure, the deeper the contraction will be. Based on a rate of 10%, the net revenues of the government as a result of the solidarity levy will only be 67 million guilders. Therefore, it is not realistic to expect that an economy that was already contracting for a few years before the outbreak of the pandemic will generate substantial revenues through a solidarity levy to finance the remaining package of support measures, according to the interim president. It is recommended that the government explores ways of reducing its expenditures instead of introducing an additional tax. The freed up funds can be complemented by additional financing from the Netherlands and, to a lesser extent, loans on the local capital market. The limited available funds to cover the income that has been lost as a result of the lockdown call for restarting in a responsible yet swift manner of key economic activities that are currently in a standstill in order to reduce the cost of the lockdown and initiate the economy recovery, concludes Dr. Jardim. I am Valerie Van Putten, and just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.